This is Photo Dave, and in this video, my top 10 favorite action figures of 2021. Let's get to it. Okay, before we start with this top 10 list, I figured you'd better see who the contenders are in the old Toypixx collection. So here we go, quick kind of overview. Obviously, G.I. Joe's a big part of what I got this year because, well, they're just rad figures. Got all these, whoo-wee. You got Firefly, you got the Plunderlings, by the way. You need to add some Plunderlings. They're just fun. They kind of remind you, hey, toys are cool. Toys are supposed to be a blast. You got a couple Wolverines. You got Timber. Timber was exciting just because, hey, Hasbro realized we can make animal figures and they're awesome. I'm really impressed with the G.I. Joe team this year. In case you didn't get that from the last video. We got Boba, we got Blood, Zartan. I've been really surprised by McFarlane's Spawn figures. Gunslinger Spawn was probably the figure I was most pleasantly surprised by this year. Violator is just awesome, but I knew going in he was going to be awesome, so I wasn't all that surprised. I'm surprised by how much I like Kickstarter Spawn. He's just a much cooler figure than I thought he'd be. I do need to get a cape for him, but he's pretty sweet. Joker has way more personality and is a far cooler figure than he deserves to be. Let's see. That was crazy. You got Flint there. You got Firefly there. I mean, all kinds. Just making sure you're kind of getting a little bit of a quality view of everybody that was involved in the collection. You got Breaker hiding out back there. Not a big fan of Breaker. We're going to need to... I'll probably end up getting rid of him, but he's still part of the class of 2021. Psylocke, Catwoman, Barbecue. Barbecue's very cool. There's all kinds of great figures. Basically, if I got them and I kept them, they're pretty awesome, except for Breaker. But yeah, and I got a lot of Marvel Legends this year too that I just ended up selling. I started getting to the point of, nah, I'm good. I did keep this Wolverine simply because I'm a Wolverine nut. Anywho, there are your contenders for my top 10 list. Now let's get to it. Number 10 is this enormous, adorable chunk of plastic you see in front of the camera right now. This is the Violator. I never had any intention of getting into the Spawn line at all. But this guy, there was just something cool about him. And then I picked up another one that I thought was cool. And whew, yeah, I don't know what to even say. I'm gonna be picky. I'm gonna pick and choose my Spawn figures, but I'm thinking Violator here was a really good choice. For a big dude, he's pretty well articulated. He's a little limited at the neck. But as far as just this crazed monster-looking thing, man, he's just sweet. And there is some respect for McFarlane considering his action figure history, what he brought to the table way back when, and what he did with comics. The man's kind of a revolutionary sort of dude. So there's that, too. I see this figure, and it's just gnarly, and I'm geeked, and I'm excited to own it. It's also really good for photos, and as you know, that's kind of the point of the whole thing for me. So that's Violator. Let's get to number 9. And at number 9, we've got the covert operations specialist herself for the G.I. Joe team, Lady J. And I have to say, I am absolutely blown away by this figure. Not only because of her insane articulation, just like the rest of the G.I. Joe line, but what she could mean for Hasbro as a whole going forward. As far as I know, this is the most articulated female figure that Hasbro has produced. And while I'm not really into any other Hasbro lines at the moment, Classified's just crushing it, and I'm super stoked that they were able to start when it comes to bodies like this with the pinless joints, pinless elbows, bicep swivel, and I know Legends had that, but more importantly, an actual waist, like a ball joint at the waist. That's huge for me. I just kind of got to the point where I didn't like waist cuts. I don't know. It kind of seemed like when you're taking photos of something, when you turn something at the waist and it's a waist cut, it almost looks like you just kind of stuck the top half of a figure onto the lower half of the figure. And that kind of got me to thinking, don't really need much of that anymore. Lady J doesn't have that problem. She's just insanely cool, and I can't wait to see what Classified does going forward when it comes to their female figures. Oh, and I've always been a toy guy, so the fact that she came with the hat, I'm really digging the hat. Okay, let's hit up number 8. And now, for everyone's favorite Huckleberry, and yes, if Gunslinger Spawn makes it into a video, I'm totally doing a Val Kilmer Doc Holliday impression. Gunslinger Spawn. Yeah, this was the guy that I picked up just kind of on a whim. I'd heard he was pretty cool. I saw him on the Target website for retail, which shocked the heck out of me because it was just in the last month that I ordered him. And I'm pretty blown away. The articulation is much more insane than you would usually think McFarlane would do. So I'm really impressed by that. I love kind of the Old West gunslinger look of him. Gotta love the dual revolvers, the rifle, all that good stuff. Even enjoy the hat. I love the bandolier around his belt. Just the whole thing, the whole presentation is really cool. And even more than that, I've never read anything with Gunslinger Spawn, and this is probably going to force me to do that. Just because I want to check the dude out. I want to learn what he's all about. But yeah, he definitely was my most surprising figure of 2021. I am thrilled to have this guy. And if you're on the fence about whether or not you're going to get Gunslinger Spawn, get off that fence and grab this guy. Because he's just pretty cool. Coming in at number 7 is the Medicom Mafex Psylocke. And yeah, it does kind of hurt to put a Medicom figure this low on the list of top 10s, but remember, she's still on the list of top 10s, and she's still a killer figure. Now, I had the Marvel Legends Psylocke before, and she was okay, but she wasn't very good when it came to articulation. What this Psylocke has is loads of articulation, loads of accessories. One of the things I really enjoy about Mafex is when you pick up a figure from them, you feel like you've bought a complete figure because you don't need more stuff. She's got a couple head sculpts, she's got a bunch of hand accessories. She's just very cool, very geek to have her. And I don't know what else to say. It's Betsy. It's a very good figure. It's the best Psylocke figure I've ever owned. So even though she's at number 7, I am ecstatic and thrilled to have her. The one thing, though, because you'll notice as the list keeps going, that there are going to be a few more Mafex figures. The one thing I had to consider when it came to knocking her down a bit is her head size could be just a little bigger. And hey, man, that's how picky you have to get when you get to these top 10s. You have to find a reason not to put them at number 1. So that's it. Now, on to number 6. Coming in at number 6, which I'm sure is a shocker to a lot of you, but hey, these lists are all subjective, is the Medicom Mafex Gambit. Now, before I go any further, let's say this. This is the perfect Gambit. They could not make a Gambit better than this. They've got all kinds of accessories. He came with tons of hands. He's got his bow staff. He's got, like, the effects pieces that go on the ends of the bow staff. I don't even remember them using that in the comics. He's got the massive flinging cards accessories. He's got stands so you can do that without hurting the joints. This is an incredible gambit. He's a great release. So why wouldn't he be a little higher on the list? Well, to be honest, complete and utter subjectivity. He's a great figure. And if you're ever on the fence about whether or not you should get this guy, well, at this point, take out that second mortgage and grab yourself this gambit. Now, let's get to number 5, shall we? Number 5, well, I gotta give it to these guys. I watched Dave Wonder do his top 10, and he named the Plunderlings line as his number 1 figure of the year. Did I say that right? Did I just say figure? I think I did. And I thought to myself, well, I respect the call of number 1 because these things are just a blast. No issues with that. My problem is, can you really select the whole line as just a spot in your top 10 figures? And as I looked at Captain Ash, and Berserker Spurt, Nomad Tough, I thought to myself, yeah, you can. Because these guys are all just killer. They're all just too much fun. They should be making appearances in all kinds of people's videos, just being crazy, mischievous little tools. They're exciting. They're goofy. They're exactly what figures are supposed to be. And the fact that I only have 3 of them, well, really, I should be flogged as a toy collector because that's kind of embarrassing. I will be making adjustments this year. If you are at all on the fence about whether or not you should add some Plunderlings to your shelves, you owe it to yourself to just go out there and buy one. Just test one. Find one that you think looks cool, grab it, see what you think, and then basically go out and buy the rest of the line because that's what you're going to want to do. I am not at all an enabler. All right. Let's get to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is Selena Kyle, the Catwoman. And I'm going to just throw this out there right now. This is the absolute best female action figure in my collection, possibly that's even been made. I don't know that for sure. Obviously, I don't have all of them. I only kept 25 figures this year. But just looking at her, her articulation is insane. She has just the insane Catwoman look. She comes with a whip. She comes with tons of hands. She comes with 3 different heads. Her articulation, while good, isn't phenomenal, but she's also a really thin figure. If they made her so she could bend any more, she might snap in half, which brings me to the fact that she's actually a really sturdy figure, which is kind of a shocker for how spindly she is, I suppose. Not to mention, and this is what kind of puts her above figures like Psylocke and Gambit, even though they're newer and I haven't had the time with them that I have with her, she has been an absolute joy to photograph. And I don't know if it's just the stark, shiny black of her costume that makes it so much fun, but she's just been a blast. And when you're looking at a bunch of figures that at this point are just absolute perfect representations, you have to throw some of that subjectivity in there, or you're going to lose your mind trying to figure out how to order these lists. So there you go. This figure has been an absolute blast for me, and that's why she ends up at number 4. Now next, we're getting to the top 3. Coming in at number 3, and you don't understand how hard this is for me to not put this figure at number 1, is the Mafex brown suit Wolverine. Now, Wolverine has been just about my favorite comic book character for years, and this is the absolute perfect Wolverine. This Wolverine will most likely never leave my possession because I'm so thrilled to have him. I've already had a blast with him, and I just got him, I think, last week. Like, this is a figure that I am absolutely in love with. This guy is awesome. Phenomenal. I don't know how many more synonyms I can come up with. I will say he didn't come with the beer mug. What he did come with are 3 sets of hands, 3 heads, and a cowl. So he's a little light on accessories compared to a lot of the Mafex stuff, but he pretty much makes up for it by being the perfect brown suit Wolverine. I'm just thrilled that this figure got made, and I can't wait to shoot him in a whole lot more pics. But being that Wolverine is just about my favorite comic book character of all time, and he came in at number 3, what could the reason be? Well, one of the reasons, and I'd say the main reason, is Marvel's just been on a tear the last several years. A whole lot of really good Wolverine figures have been made. That's pretty much why he's at number 3, is because I've had some really cool Wolvies. But the top 2, I haven't really had many of the cool ones because they're really, in my mind, haven't been a lot of cool ones made. So, with that said, let's get to number 2. So is it just me, or do you think that this guy would somehow find being number 2 a little chuckle-worthy? Yeah, that's right, folks. Number 2 is the Medicom Mafex Joker from the Hush line. I am insanely thrilled. If you've seen any of the, like I did a video where I kind of did a Mark Hamill impression of the Joker all through it where he reviews himself. Believe me, I'm not doing serious reviews. There's plenty of other people to do that. But it was just a blast. And setting him up to just having fun in photos. I mean, most of the Dio stuff that I've gotten lately that I've picked up has been so I can make a really cool Joker set. This figure, let's be honest, has no right to be this high on a list. He didn't come with a gun, and I can't, that Tommy gun there was something I bought separately. And I can't be upset at Medicom for that because that seems to be a Warner Brothers edict. Their figures just can't come with guns now. So he needed that. But again, you can't blame Medicom for that. Would have been nice to get some kind of replacement accessory when we couldn't get the bang gun. But he came with a bunch of hands. He came with another head. He's just fun. He's a spindly, ridiculous character who absolutely, when you look at him, is a terrifying clown. But at the same time, just cracks me up. I'm having a ridiculous amount of fun with this guy. And like I said before, when you get to this point in these lists, when every figure is pretty much perfect, you gotta throw in that subjectivity, and fun has to be a big factor in that subjectivity. So, there's the Joker, a figure that I've wanted for a long time in 6-inch that I thought was great and that I haven't seen a lot of in 6-inch the last several years. So when I saw this, knew I had to snag him. That takes us to the big guy, to number 1. Who could it possibly be? In number 1 is the Man of Steel himself, the Medicom Mafex, Batman Hush, Superman. Now, I don't know about the rest of you. When I look at this guy, I pretty much hear a John Williams soundtrack, but on top of that, I don't think that they've made a great, classic, costumed, awesome Superman since 1984's Superpowers line. I have literally waited decades for this figure. That's why he's at number 1 for me. And if he's not at number 1 for you, you're wrong. Kidding, don't hate me in the comments. But I am blown away. I'm just so thrilled to have this figure in my collection. He comes with all kinds of hands. He comes with another head where his eyes are glowing a little red. He comes with the Poison Ivy pieces because this is, like I said, Superman from the Hush story where, not to spoil a really old comic, but Poison Ivy had control of him for a little while. So he's got that stuff. The one thing, and this is This is a perfect figure. This is a perfect representation of Superman from the Hush storyline. The one thing I would have liked to see for this figure is a slightly happier face. Superman is that hopeful character that we all wish we could be. And if he were just looked a little less dour, I'd be more impressed. But again, this is the Hush Superman. He's supposed to look like this, so I can't hold it against Medicom Mafex. And I will definitely hold on to this guy, because who knows how many more decades it'll be before I get what I believe is the perfect 1/12 scale representation of old Kal-El, Clark Kent, the Man of Steel, faster than a speeding bullet, all that jazz. Da, 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 da. Anywho, in case you can't tell, I'm really geeked to have this guy. So there you go, folks. Those were my favorite 10 action figures of 2021. Comment below with your list. Let's find out what your favorite figures are. And don't worry, completely judgment-free. All that's important about your list is that you dig your figures as much as I dug mine. Now, also, make sure you're following Toypixx on Instagram and Twitter, where I ask a question of the day on Monday through Friday. And the most recent question I asked was, what are your toy collecting goals for 2022? Mine, the big one, is to make Toypixx somehow pay for my figures, my dios, my dio accessories, my photo equipment, all that good stuff. Whew! That's a pretty lofty goal, but I'm shooting for it. Going to see if I can make it happen. So you can either answer the top 10, you can answer that question, or if you're feeling crazy, you can answer both of them. So that's all I got for this. Happy New Year. Hope 2022 treats you incredibly well. And as always, have fun. Normally I'd say happy snapping, but since this video is all about figures primarily, happy collecting. See ya.